And let's begin by telling you that the Federal High Court in Lagos has ordered the permanent forfeiture of $4.7 million and 830 million naira, as well as multiple properties linked to the former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele. Justice Yelim Boguro, in a judgment delivered on Friday, also ordered the final forfeiture of investments worth $900,000 traced to one of Emefiele's close relatives, Anita Joy Omoile. The court also ordered the final forfeiture of another $4.4 million worth of investment traced to Deep Blue Energy Services Limited, as well as another sum of 283 million naira in Zenith Bank traced to Lehman Investment Limited area, 20,000 euros and 1,999 pounds traced to Exact Quote Bureau d'Change, BDC, all companies linked to Omoile. At the instance of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Justice Boguro also granted the final forfeiture of all the funds of the federal government of Nigeria after holding that they were proceeds of unlawful activities. The federal government has made good its promise to resume a ministerial scorecard series ahead of the second anniversary of President Bola Tinubu's administration on May the 29th of 2025. The sessions are meant to underscore the administration's commitment to transparency, accountability, and effective communication with the Nigerian public. Leading the park for Friday's presentation were the Ministers of Livestock Development, Idi Maiha, and Regional Development, Abubakar Momo. Let's take a look.
And very soon in March, we are going to invite all the pastoral organizations in this country. We have made them interrupted, but we want to invite all leadership here so that we communicate the intentions of this ministry and how we are going to work together with them. We also want to get feelers from them. We are going to get any solution from them. We are going to work out a solution for them on how to remodel the outdoors. This will continue for some time, but again, what is happening today is very, very unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate. When it comes to security, there is an overlap between what we do, we are not a security organization. Ours is to come with non-kinetic measures to silence the guns. We don't carry guns. We come with non-kinetic measures in terms of sensitization and taking practical steps to make sure that that's another mechanism of a higher having to attack the farm doesn't exist, because we will encourage him to go into classical education so that he can be self-sufficient in fodder for his animals. And how do we do that? By improving the productivity of his animal. If he has 100 animals that can only give him 90 liters, we will give him 3 animals that can give him 100 liters. And these animals today are found in this country. Each animal can give you 30 liters, so you have 3 animals that can give you 100 liters, instead of 100 animals that can give you 90 liters. So that is what we are going. And I believe that is the history that many other countries today have gone, and it's Europe. Because we have practical examples in this country, we will create models for them to see, so that our local indigenous country will be upgraded genetically to provide the needs and needs required for this country.
The ministry is charged with the responsibility to coordinate the activities of the region, that's the Niger Delta region. And I make it clear to you what we'll be able to do from the head of the ministry and from the NDDC, which also acknowledge good initiatives. But let me make it clear to you. I'm sure for the past 1 year, you will agree with me that there's relative peace in the Niger Delta region. You must have been hearing of crisis here and there. That is what the ministry is all about, to ensure that there's peace in that region, so that oil can continue to flow and continue to have money. If you want to tell me how this achievement impacted on the people, I think the best thing is to go to the various communities that these projects have been done for, and ask them
Osun State High Court in Ilasa has ordered the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission to conduct elections for the vacant positions of local government chairmen and councillors in all the 30 local government areas and the area office in Osun State. The order was given on Friday sequel to a suit brought before the court by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, one of the parties participating in the election. Justice Adeyinka Aderibigbe, who gave the order, also asked security agencies to provide security and peace before, during, and after the election. Residents of the state have expressed worries that the state has become very insecure as a result of violent disagreement between members of political parties few days ago. Nigeria's federal government has unveiled the Nutrition 774 initiative to address the challenge of malnutrition, which in every child. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima says unhealthy diet in children will inevitably lower productivity and slow economic growth.
About 40% of Nigerian children under 5 suffer from stunting, 8% from wasting, and 27% are underweight. These are not just numbers, they represent the faces of children whose futures are at risk before they even begin. This is why the Nutrition 774 initiative is not only an urgent but also a turning point. By focusing on grassroots impact, we'll ensure that mothers and children across all communities have access to critical nutrition support where it matters most. This initiative is therefore an invitation to all stakeholders, our governors, ministers, local government chairmen, development partners, and the private sector to take action. It is also a pledge to the people of Nigeria that we will not stand by while our children suffer the preventable consequences of malnutrition.
We have made progress, but we need to interrogate from time to time and do better. And under your leadership, and as witnessed today with this launch, you are yet again taking steps to ensure that all the subnationals are incorporated and their importance is appreciated. And as Mr. President once gave the charge here at the National Economic Council, you and your Mr. President stand ready to support all subnationals to ensure that nutritional outcomes, among other outcomes, are enhanced and made better.
And now we'll move to the civic space, where members of the Take It Back movement, in collaboration with Amnesty International, has condemned the abuse of Cybercrime Act by security agencies and attacks by authorities on freedom of information. The group described the attacks on young Nigerians who freely expressed their opinion as a violation of human rights, which making demand for a repeal of the Cybercrime Act. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more in this report.
We can't just bring it. I don't think that's happened.
The attacks on journalists, activists, opposition voices and young people in Nigeria, especially by security agencies leveraging the country's cybercrime legislation, is becoming increasingly worrisome. Against this backdrop, the Take It Back movement, in collaboration with Amnesty International, condemned the misuse of Cybercrime Act while making demands for the immediate and unconditional repeal of the Cybercrime Act.
It is a tool employed to silence opposition voices, journalists, as well as young people who have been freely expressing themselves on Twitter and TikTok, as well as various other social media platforms. We demand an immediate end to the persecution of activists, journalists, and citizens under the guise of this notorious Cybercrime Act.
Must we always pass through the police stations in Nigeria when people are angry or when people feel that their egos have been bruised? That is what we are trying to say today, that no matter how they push us, we will not stop.
Leaders of the movement, however, urge people in power and position of authority to refrain from using the Cybercrime Act and silencing the voice of Nigerians who freely express their opinions on social media, considering that the country is a democratic nation.
All we're saying is we do not accept this current Cybercrime Act. It's against the fundamental rights of Nigerians to speak and express themselves. We're saying, no, it's unacceptable. We're not going to have it in our generation.
We are declaring a campaign that the Cybercrime Act should be repealed, whether as a hashtag, as a physical conviction, or as actions that we are going to be taken on the streets.
While people should be held accountable for their actions, many believe the law should not be misused such that matters of expression are made to carry criminal consequences. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
You're watching News Now on News Central Television. You're watching News Now on News Central Television. Let's go on a short break. When we return, police announce the arrest of 2 new suspects in connection with abduction and killing of Anambra lawmaker. After the break. We told you earlier about the federal government as they have made good on their promise to resume a ministerial scorecard series ahead of the 2nd anniversary of President Bola Tinubu's administration on May 29th of 2025. And to that effect, we're joined now by Alistair Wilcox, is a public policy expert, and he joins us to give us a bit of insight on just what's unfolding. Alistair, many thanks for joining us. 2 years about to be done. How well would you say the president has delivered in the dividends of his mandate of renewed hope to Nigerians?
Well, like I said, we're getting to the 2-year mark. Maybe in the next 3 months or thereabouts, 4 months, 3 months, we'll get to the 2 years mark. And well, the president seems to be somebody that hit the ground running with what he wanted to do, right from Eagle Square. He didn't keep anybody in doubt as to the direction he wants to go, especially with restructuring the economy, which we saw all the pains that is going along with it. So the president was very, very clear as to what he wants to do and how he wants to do it. And I think for me, it's a potpourri of mixed bag. You know, while we see that some of the policies resulted to hyperinflation, we're also seeing that some people are also smelling to the bank, because a lot of opportunities were open for them to make money. So depending on the side that you want to cut in, it's a potpourri, it's a conglomerate of various, I don't know, it's a mixed bag, and everybody have his own share of what to talk about in terms of how it has affected you or not affected you.
All right. I mean, critics say that stewardship must be renewed or must be measured in impact rather than by what, it's being said. What do you say?
Well, the truth of the matter is, sometimes it's difficult to gauge every aspect of our lives and on a daily basis. Because apart from what everybody feels today as some of the economic impact that they are feeling with respect to the hyperinflation that some of the policies has created, where we see prices galloping as if there is no tomorrow. People will not really understand what other things are going on within the system, especially those who are not informed in terms of economic and governance matters. So people might not understand really what is going on. So sometimes when the government come out and speak some big grammars, talking about FDI, foreign investment, the exchange rates issues, the what they call it, the reserve, the Federal Reserve, and all that. People may not understand. Well, one of the problems we must understand is the fact that year in, year out, there has been some endemic and systemic rot that hitherto a lot of people do not want to touch. Now, let me tell you 2 things. First, being the fuel subsidy. That discussion has been on the drawing board. I can't remember for how long. Since the time of Bangida. I remember when Bangida was in power. That was in the 80s. And we talked, and there was a debate, an IMF debate, as to removal of fuel subsidy. Since I'm talking about 1985 now, till every other government just seems to play on top of it. But well, the president felt that, look, there has to be an end to some of these anomalies. And so right from Ego Square, he announced it. And of course, we see the backlash. But today, it's like we're all adjusting to it. And we're seeing the forces of demand and supply, thanks to, again, Dangote, who has a refinery in Nigeria. We're now seeing the force of demand and supply playing. Sometimes today, price goes up, tomorrow it comes down and all whatnot. Then we'll talk about the exchange rate regime. Before this time, we've been using our scarce resources to defend the Naira. And yes, we can argue that, yes, we have a lower Naira-dollar equation. But at some point, it has to be end, because every year our foreign reserve is depleting. And so Nigeria is not building, is not maintaining, is not having anything to fall back on. So we just go from hand to mouth. But I think, again, this government said, okay, let's put an end to that. Yes, we saw the backlash. We saw how the Naira plummeted, and it was like as if heavens were falling down. But as of today, we're seeing that the Naira is trying to play a game that nobody understands. In fact, those who have been holding Naira dollars now are getting scared as to where the Naira is going, because it's coming down south. It's no longer, the Naira is no longer rising as if there's no tomorrow. So some of these policies will take some time to mature. And again, we're not able to measure other areas. For instance, if you're talking about Ministry of Women Affairs, Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Sports, some other ministries that do not have direct impact on Nigeria. So measuring those things might not just be, I don't think everyday Nigerian on the street may understand what impact that they are playing. Although I'm not satisfied. If you ask me, I'm not satisfied with the pace at which we are going. But I'm sure we are going somewhere. And in no time, we'll find some things. We'll find some blue horizon in the sky.
I mean, this administration have said that, or rather, even critics have agreed in some sense. Some economic analysts have said that, rebasing the economy or introducing the subsidy removal or unification of the foreign floating of the Naira was a needed measure. But what that has done in turn is to increase tariffs. So I've seen tariff increment for telecommunications. We've seen it not just for telecommunication, but also now with ATMs, about to introduce 100 Naira fee for every withdrawal of ATM, whether it's your bank or not. This tariffs and this steps, is it not in any sense making Nigerians even more poorer, as the question of addressing, the question of hunger and widespread poverty? Talk to me. What's your take on that?
That's a very good aspect. That's a very good point you have raised. And for me, I cannot tie in some of these. I cannot reconcile some of the recent systemic increases, especially from government. I mean, directly from government, as to what is really why this should be happening. Like you just mentioned, telecoms are giving a whopping 50% increase on tariff. Where in the world does that happen? Where? Even our, our inflation rate, let me put it at the 30s, because after the rebasement, I do not understand how they come crash from 30 to 24. So for me, I think that's superficial. I do not understand how it is, because that does not represent what you find every day in the market. Yes, some inflation, some products are no longer rising, because some must have peaked, some of the price level must have peaked, but we're still seeing pockets of inflation up and down. But so how you rebase and then you brought it down is what I don't know. But even if you're 30% as inflation year on year or month on month, I don't know how you are awarding an already overpriced service a 50% increment. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. 50%. I mean, in Nigeria, prices go up as if the country is just. That's how airlines on a full sweep, 100% increment on flight tickets. You go to hotels today. I mean, as at October, December last year, I know the prices we are paying in some very good hotels. Today, they've increased their rates by 100%. I'm talking of hotel rates, occupancy rates. I'm not talking of food and beverages. I'm talking of the hotel rate itself. A lot of hotels have gone up 50%, 100%. And you ask the question, what is underlining? So, at one hand, we are trying to stabilize the economy. At the other hand, we are creating inflationary tendencies in the economy, because some of these increases do not have any economic. Because as far as I'm concerned, yes, telecoms, yes, they've been on one particular price. Telecom is a competitive market, and they should compete. It's not for government to give them to award them rates. They should compete. You know, if you increase your rate and the other man does not increase his rate, then people will leave you and go. I mean, how did we get to pay a cheaper price in telecoms? Was it not when one of the operators came in, Glo to be specific, claiming and said they are going on per second billing? When MTN and Zain, what they call it, Econet, was the players, they said no, they can't do per second billing. It has to be per minute billing. Then it was 15 per minute. Even if you call for, you made a 1 second call, you are charged 15 naira. And then when competition came into it, you saw how the price crashed down drastically. So why are they going out of competition and they're wanting government to give them protection with price increase? Was it government that fixed the original price? No, it was competition that brought it to that level. And then now you want government, you don't go through the back door, and some insensitive government officials, insensitive regulators who do not care about the masses will now award such humongous increase.
All right.
I mean, for me, it's scary. So if government is trying to retool the economy, bring about prosperity, then such increases should not be. You should be thinking of how to get service providers to reduce price, to reduce cost for the people, so that the prosperity you have preached will come to floor.
All right, Alistair, we gotta go.
They don't tie in at all.
Alistair, we gotta go. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate you. Alistair Wilcox is a public policy analyst. Just give us a bit of insights regarding as we stare towards May 29, 2 years of President Bola Tinubu in this administration. Once again, many thanks.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Tantita Security Services and the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, are not retaining or not relenting in their collaborative efforts to tackle oil theft in the Niger Delta. Their recent meeting in Warri, the oil city, and re-emphasized renewed commitment in protecting the nation's mainstay. News Central's Biola Festus reports.
Since its engagement by the federal government of Nigeria with the task of protecting oil pipelines in the Niger Delta, Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited has been working shoulder to shoulder with various security operatives to dislodge oil thieves in the oil-rich region. One of such security agencies is the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, which is also charged with the responsibility of protecting the nation's critical infrastructure. As partners sharing similar goals, the NSCDC was on an operational visit to the Tantita Security Services in Warri to strengthen their cooperation and strategies on combating oil theft.
I want to tell you that this collaboration is something we value and we want to maintain, and we expect that on your part you are going to also keep this collaboration flying, and you are going to help us to achieve more.
Public-private partnerships have proved to be effective measures in service delivery globally. This is evident in the synergy between Tantita Security Services and the NSCDC.
First, I want to thank you for your support, your collaboration. We have seen now really that yes, no service has monopoly of any strategy as far as helping this menace is concerned. Whether we like it or not, today, as of today, the mainstay of Nigerian economy is still oil, and it is going to be our collective decision, to come together really to protect this very precious gift that God has given us. And we have seen that it is going to be done well when we have private security companies, involved in this kind of business.
Both the NSCDC and Tantita say they are pleased with working relationship between their field personnel and want the collaboration to continue for more success.
I'd like to tell you that Tantita is doing very well as far as we're concerned, because our members, our staff are with you. We are collaborating with you, and you are also doing your best in the area of welfare of the staff, because we have been getting information that they have been taken care of. And so, like you actually also pointed out, we can see that the oil production level capacity has improved. When the whole thing started, it was around 600 to 800, and now we have over 2 million. This is very, very unprecedented. This is good, and I know that the government will encourage all of us. The government will continue to encourage all of us to give our best as far as protection of these pipelines are concerned. So far, we have not, we didn't hear any problem that will make us to disagree.
Tantita has not only brought sanity to the creeks. The streets of Warri, the oil city, are now enjoying relative calm and serenity thanks to Tantita's engagement of youth who were once out of job. Between 2022, when Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited was awarded the pipeline surveillance contract, and December 2024, Nigeria's crude oil output has picked up significantly from about 800,000 barrels per day to 1.8 million barrels per day. In Warri, for News Central, Biola Festus.
The police in Anambra State on Friday said they had scored a major breakthrough in their hunt for 2 new suspects involved in the abduction and killing of state lawmaker Justice Azuka. Commissioner of Police CP Ikoye Urutugu made the announcement on Friday. News Central Special Correspondent on Investigative Journalism, Marshal Anthony Onoye, who was present when the police briefed journalists, said that 2 suspects out of 9 initially arrested following a joint operation and 1 other individual were still on the run. The police also say they are not complicit in the escape of the fleeing suspects, adding that the officers on whose watch the suspects escaped were still being questioned.
From Delta State and Chinedu Ukoli from Imo State. Out of 11 suspects confessed and already arraigned, were taken out for investigation activity. Chinedu and Ikemefuna are not the principal suspects. The 2 suspects now missing are not, for purpose of emphasis, they are not the principal suspects. They are drivers that drove vehicles for the suspects. That is not to say they have a right to escape. They are suspects, they partook in the crime. So we have a responsibility to go after them and produce them. But for anyone to say that the principal suspects have escaped or police have carelessly released them is not true. The truth is that the principal suspects on this matter are still there, intact with the police.
The United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has commended the Governor Mufwang-led administration in Plateau State for ensuring the lives of children in need are attended to. The commendation was given by the Chief of Field Office, UNICEF Bauchi Field Office, Nuzat Rafiki. during a one-day media chat with journalists in Jos, the Plateau State capital. News Central Chizobanyo reports that UNICEF is on the Plateau in continuation of its intervention for children and women in the areas of education, health, development, maternal mortality, and child mortality prevention, among others. Journalists at the engagement were challenged to bring to the fore objective reportage that will cause sustainable development in the lives of children and women for a better society.
Whatever information you need, use it in a positive manner. That what should be the result, we should concentrate on. We want to save lives. We want the best nourished children in Plateau. We want the best sanitation environment in every village, every LGA. So you are the people who can shake every LGA. I congratulated His Excellency as well on providing the funds for the nutrition projects and taking initiatives on primary healthcare facilities, having skilled birth attendants, safe delivery kits. All those initiatives that even the focused states, it's difficult to push there. Plateau is taking on their own.
The expectation from journalists is that they get more involved in the issues about children and amplify these advocacy issues that are affecting children, issues about nutrition, health, immunization, education, that's water, sanitation, and hygiene. We expect journalists to be more involved in this.
For us, it's timely. We'll continue to collaborate with UNICEF as journalists. We'll continue to do our best. We'll continue to carry our responsibilities, especially in the cause of children and women in the society.
I intend to amplify those issues to create more policies and draw the attention of government to some of these issues.
You're watching news now on News Central Television. Still to come. The Rwandan government has condemned the U.S. decision to sanction a government minister for his alleged role in the conflict in the East. Details of this and more after the break. The Rwandan government has condemned the U.S. decision to sanction a government minister for his alleged role in the conflict in the east of neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. Announcing the financial sanctions on Thursday, the U.S. Treasury Department said Rwanda's Minister of State for Regional Integration, James Kabaribi, a former army chief, was central to his country's support for the M23 rebel group. Also sanctioned was Lawrence Kenyika, the M23 spokesman, as well as two companies he controls in Britain and France. On Friday, the UK said there would be consequences for Rwanda over its alleged role in DR Congo. Responding to the U.S. move, Rwanda's foreign ministry said the sanctions would not resolve the conflict in the DR Congo, terming them unjustified and unfounded. Day 2 of the G20 ministerial meeting in Johannesburg, South Africa. After a long first day of discussions, ministers are discussing further into the complexities of global economic growth, trying to find common ground amidst diverse interests. Meanwhile, South Africa confirms that Russian President Vladimir Putin will not attend the G20 meeting to be held in South Africa later this year due to ICC warrant of arrest. Our correspondent Bongani Ziziba has been on the ground and she has more for us. Bongani.
Good afternoon, Judith, and also a very good afternoon to our viewers at home. Still live here at Nasrec in Johannesburg, where the ministerial meeting, day 2, is taking place with ministers having discussions behind closed doors. We know that yesterday the president of the country, President Ramaphosa, made significant statements emphasizing the importance of diplomacy amid heightened geopolitical tensions. He also reaffirmed the absence of high delegation from the United States, saying that their absence would not hinder the progress of these meetings. He also insisted the role of Africa of South Africa rather as the host, just to facilitate dialogues among these countries, the ministers that are here, and also that the African voices should be heard loudly, and also that African nations should unite in growth among African countries. It's so paramount for the development and sustainability of African countries in this global landscape. But let's take a listen to what Crispin Piri, the spokesperson for Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, what he had to say.
Is the world's top diplomats gathered here to really speak about the geopolitical situation in the world, but also pressing issues that affect many nation states, the rise of artificial intelligence, how do nation states deal with that, the need for food security amongst African countries, are examples of what South Africa's G20 presidency want to tackle, and those are the discussions that are currently underway at the moment. On the geopolitical situation in the world, we've seen a number of countries agreeing that the conflicts in Palestine, Gaza, the DRC, Sudan, and the Ukraine, we need to find a peaceful resolution to those conflicts, and there's a general consensus around that in the room.
Judith, it's quite a clear message from South Africa that Africans' interests and ambitions cannot be sidelined in these discussions that are happening here. There's also a strong commitment to bringing African perspective to the forefront, and also making sure that they reinforce everything, especially when it comes to global powers. But also this platform is to champion the interest of African continent. And we also know that later today we anticipate a briefing from the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, that is Ronald Lamola, just to provide the media the insights into the outcomes of these ongoing discussions that are happening behind closed doors. We expect to hear more on how South Africa is paving a way for a more exclusive and maybe equitable international cooperation, and also how these collaborative efforts are aimed at tackling pressing issues such as climate change, trade, economic recovery, especially during post-COVID. But as we continue to monitor these developments here, it's also pivotal to remember that this gathering is an opportunity for dialogue, not just within the G20 nations, but for a broader global community, particularly, Judith, on the continent of Africa. So, Judith, we continue monitoring these discussions rather that are happening here, and I will get back to you and our viewers just to give an update after these discussions are done. It's now back to you in the studio.
Israeli authorities have arrested 2 suspects believed to have aided bus bombings near Tel Aviv. Already, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz are coordinating efforts in response to the explosions in central Israel. Following the blast, Netanyahu ordered an intensive operation against centers of terrorism in the West Bank. Meanwhile, Katz has directed the military to escalate operations targeting Palestinian militants in West Bank refugee camps, particularly in Tulkarem. The explosions occurred on Thursday evening in Bat Yam, where 3 buses were detonated, though no injuries were reported. Authorities suspect Palestinian militant groups were behind the attacks. In addition to the military operation, Katz also ordered increased security measures in Israeli cities to prevent further attacks. Police bomb disposal units were deployed to search for additional explosives.
אני רוצה להעביר מכאן מסר ברור למחבלים ושולחיהם. ניסיונות הפיגוע החמורים אתמול מול אוכלוסייה אזרחית לא ירתיעו אותנו. אנחנו נמצאים במלחמה נגד הטרור האסלאמי הקיצוני, ואנחנו ננצח כאן ובעזה ובכל מקום, ונשמיד את חוטפי ורוצחי התינוקות של החמאס. עם טרור לא מתפשרים, טרור מחסלים. הנחיתי את צה"ל להעצים את הפעילות ביהודה ושומרון עד להכרעת הטרור.
The National Association of Road Transport Owners, NARTO, warns that the federal government's proposed ban on 60,000-litre petroleum tankers could lead to losses of 300 billion naira. They argue that accidents are not caused by these tankers and that banning them would significantly impact the petroleum distribution industry. Alhaji Yusuf Lawal Uthman, National President, Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NARTO, shared his thoughts on the necessary safety measures NARTO would take to prevent tanker accidents.
Safety operations of trucks laden with petroleum products across the country, one of which there will have to at all times be safety valves on all the vehicles that are going to henceforth load petroleum product, which is also in line with our recommendations. There has to be driver training and retraining. There has to be vehicle inspection. There has to be color coding. There has to be speed limiting devices on all the vehicles, and also safe to load policy, which will normally be done in conjunction with Federal Safety Code, wherein a vehicle must be inspected and certified safe to load before it is loaded. To will similarly be certified safe to travel before it is allowed to travel. So all this will come on board to ensure that future occurrences are avoided. In addition, also, there is the plan that any vehicle above 60,000 liters from 1st of March will not be loaded, and any vehicle above 45,000 from October, it will not be loaded.
Former Super Eagles striker Victor Anichambe has been appointed Special Advisor on Sports to the Southeast Development Commission. In this role, he will oversee the implementation of the Southeast Grassroots Recreation Infrastructure Development Program. Anichebe, a former Everton star and an Olympic silver medalist, will serve in a voluntary capacity, focusing on developing grassroots sports in the region. The development agency initiative, or rather the Sergreed initiative, executed in collaboration with Southeast states and private sector partners, includes coach training, youth academies, regional tournaments, and club integration. The program aims to build world-class sports infrastructure in schools and communities while addressing youth empowerment and insecurity. Nigerian midfielder Chioma Olise has joined Turkish Women's Super League club Trabzonspor from Nigerian Women Football League NWFL champions Edo Queens. She signed a 1.5-year contract and will wear jersey number 16. Olise began her professional career with Royal Queens before making a name for herself at Edo Queens, where she won the 2023-24 NWFL Premiership title. She also captained the team to a 4th-place finish at the CAF Women's Champions League after winning the West Africa Zone B title. At international level, she featured for Nigeria at the 2022 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup and was named in the squad for the 2024 edition. In 2024, she earned a Super Falcons call-up and played against Algeria in a friendly. And that's all we can take at this hour. As always, you can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, on Star Times channel 274. Find us on Avo TV and stream us live on YouTube.